Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And this is ReDIScover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this week's episode of ReDIScover. It's our last episode of 2021 already.
Yeah, I'm emo. I think it's just flown entirely. But I kind of hit the ground running at the beginning of 2021. And I just feel like I have not stopped. And you really have picked up some momentum as the year has gone on too.
Seriously, it's been like a gradual increase and now it's just crazy, but it's exciting. This is such a fun time of year. We hope you all had a magical Christmas, and New Year's is coming up very shortly. So lots of celebrating going on, which is so much fun. And in the spirit of all of that, we thought we would kind of theme today's episode on not only one, but two of our favorite topics, Christmas and travel. And I know we said we weren't going to do a Christmas episode this year, but
oops,
we couldn't stick to that plan.
We lied.
Yeah, sorry.
It was a game time decision, but
it was.
We have to take advantage of the fact that not only is Jess living in one of the most magical places on earth right now, but we both have some of the most magical places on earth at our disposal, especially at Christmas time. Mm-hmm. We both live somewhere that really gets so into the holiday spirit that when you travel to other places, you're kind of like, oh, this is it. But then you remember that you live somewhere that just takes Christmas into overdrive. So we felt like we should hang on to Christmas for a few extra days. I don't know about you, Jess, or anyone listening, but I fully intend to leave my Christmas decorations up until probably the end of January, just because I'm not ready for it to be over.
I never am ready for it to be over. When they say seasonal depression, I get post-Christmas seasonal depression because
in January,
it's sad. It's just like you wait and you wait and you wait, and then it comes and goes so quickly. And that's why I'm an advocate for celebrating early. I'm an advocate for extending the celebrations. And it's not just like the day, it's the season, and it's the magic and the feelings of happiness. And I don't know, there's something so wonderful and heartwarming about snow and hot chocolate and all those cozy things in life. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what Christmas means to me. And
Stevie Wonder just popped into my head and started singing.
That's so crazy. And I think another one of my favorite parts of Christmas are twinkle lights and the decorations. And, on that note, I just really can't wait to tell you all about Christmastime in Paris.
We have an Emily in Paris situation going on, you guys, except for it's not Emily in Paris. It's Jessica Faye in Paris. I am so excited because I feel like I have inadvertently learned a lot about French Christmas traditions over the years.
Oh, yes.
For various reasons. Because Paris as a concept is such a romantic notion. I mean, Paris is always a good idea. Paris is a whole vibe.
When you're here, you're like, I'm in Paris right now. It blows your mind because it's like a cultural phenomenon, this city. And it's so true. Being here, you're like, this is the real deal. This is not an offshoot.
Las Vegas.
Yeah. It's when you see the Eiffel Tower, it's the Eiffel Tower. It's not an interpretation. It's it.
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting notion because we grew up surrounded by Disney parks where we go to these places and we see replicas of all of these things. Like at Epcot, we see iterations of these places that actually exist, or we see a castle that's reminiscent of an actual European castle. But when you see the actual thing that influenced the thing you've come to know, that's sort of a very surreal moment to be like, oh, wait, this is the actual thing. This isn't the forced perspective thing that's sitting behind a bunch of buildings in the World Showcase. This is the freaking Eiffel Tower.
We're really excited to talk to you guys about this romantic and beautiful city and what it's like during December, during Christmas time, and the food, of course. And because it's us, we'll definitely have a Disney aspect to it as well. So stay tuned for that. But for any of you who are new here, just to give you a little background, I am currently doing a nomad lifestyle where my boyfriend, Steven, and I are living month to month in different Airbnbs in different countries while we work remote. So that is why I am in Paris this month, and I'm here for 4 beautiful weeks. And the previous episode we did was all about Italy. So that was our first location too. So in case you haven't been keeping up on other platforms, I just wanted to give you a little background on why we're dedicating this episode to Paris today.
I'm so excited. I keep being like, so where are we going next? Where are we going next? I'm so invested in this journey. And I think something we were talking about before we started recording, which I think is worth noting, is that this whole nomadic adventure that you guys are on is really just a very childlike discovery of these places that, we've grown up dreaming about or seeing, in films and in theme parks and in different like cultural, media representations. And now you actually getting to experience them and watching Steven experience it. It really is like such a joy to be part of.
Thank you.
So I'm so excited that we're going to talk about Paris today and specifically Christmas time. So wherever in the world you are while you're listening, we all kind of have our own way of celebrating the holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I feel like there are enough Christmas traditions that are departed from the religious affiliations that pretty much everyone can find like something to love and celebrate about Christmas, whether or not you subscribe to like the Christian belief system behind it. So I think that Europe to me is like the actual snow globe scene that I imagine in my mind, like the Christmas markets and the chilly weather and just all of the lights and decorations. And on top of the already gorgeous architecture and amazing history and art and life and decadence. So I would love if you could just give us a general overview of Christmas time in Paris, and then I can fill in some of the historical context as we go if we need to.
Wonderful. Yes, Kristen has done a lot of research, and I appreciate
homework, you guys.
I appreciate that. To start, so Paris overall, to give a little background, it's a very, very big city, and I think the comparison that I've been making that makes sense in my head is that Paris is like the European version of New York City. But I mean, Paris
is older,
much older.
Like
so that's, to me, I feel like this is like the original. They're both extremely different, but the size of the city and like the hustle and bustle of the city and just the whole culture of it, you kind of have this superior feeling being in Paris. Kind of like I mentioned, it's like we're in Paris, and it's the same in New York. It's like we're in New York City. Like this is the best city in the country, or this is the best city on the continent. So Paris is gigantic. All the architecture is really, really beautiful here. And I think in my Christmas brainwashed minds, like it just looks like a Christmassy city to me because all of the buildings are very white or grayish toned. And then they have dark gray / black rooftops. All of the buildings have their own detailing to them, but they have that general color scheme throughout the city, which I think is really interesting. And it does kind of give it more of a wintry tone from my perspective. And of course, I'm here in December, so I'm a little biased on that because I'm also freezing all of the time. But during December, I mean, I think it's a European thing. I think they just decorate for Christmas here more than we do in the States. And we do in the States a lot, but
we need to step it up though.
It's magical here. We do need to step it up because I think around the end of November, I started seeing things go up, but here it feels like every shop, every mall, every restaurant has a Christmas overlay. And I love that. anywhere you go is going to have garland and ornaments and wreaths and twinkle lights. And even the street that our Airbnb is on has these sheets of like canopy lights that are draped from one building across the sidewalk to the other. So it's like beautiful when you're walking. That. Yeah, it's like a mini Osborne lights, you know?
I love that.
But it's so cool. And the twinkle lights here are really interesting too, because they have like that solid twinkle, you know, but then there's like these mini tiny flashes that give it like that sparkle in your eye kind of look. And that just seems to be I don't know how to describe it other than that, but that just seems to be a thing because I've seen it not only in the city of Paris, but also at Disneyland. I don't know if that's a Parisian or French or European type of twinkle light, but I don't see those as much.
Twinkle lights
in the States.
They're couture. They're couture.
The couture Christmas.
Yes.
So, of course, we talked about the Eiffel Tower, too. That's the most iconic building in the world.
When Steven posted that Instagram story and you guys were going up and he was playing the Impressions de France music, I actually got choked up. I was like, oh my gosh,
it's emotional. It's real.
I was like, this is absolutely what I would do. I would be playing Impressions de France for everyone to listen to, whether they wanted to or not.
Okay, I have to just throw this in, too, because it's so, like, cliche Paris, but like the first time we ever walked into a cafe, which actually was a creperie where we were getting crepes, but La Vie en Rose was playing on the speaker. Shut up. I mean, that obviously not every cafe in Paris plays that song, but I was like, I feel like I'm in a movie because that timing was just too impeccable.
Too good.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that was a wink from the universe, just being
the main character energy, Jess.
Thank you. You know,
I love it.
Gotta emulate that.
Right.
Anyway, so back to the Eiffel Tower. But I think that the Eiffel Tower, while being the most recognizable building in the world, essentially, I think it has this incredible, like, grand charm, especially at night. And kind of talking about the twinkle lights I was just talking about, they light up the Eiffel Tower at night. And from what I've seen on the hour, they do the sparkly lights all along the tower.
Yes.
And they, like, you know, Soarin'. Yes. And in Soarin', you know, when there's the beam of light that kind of circles around and basically blinds you, that
makes it like a lighthouse. Yeah. And totally blinds you. I like shut my eyes for that part every time.
But that beam is real. Like you see it all around the city, which is really cool.
Aww.
So
I kind of love that. It's like literally a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Like, guides you home.
It's amazing. Yeah. And just a side note, this isn't Christmas related, but I didn't know this. I don't know why, but you can go in the Eiffel Tower and there's 2 floors. There's like the main floor. You go up a little elevator into the main floor, and then you can go up to the top as well. So if you want a beautiful view of Paris, that's the place to go.
Leave your fear of heights on the ground.
Yeah. But that being said, I'm here in December and it is freezing cold. European fashion is really fun right now because everyone's wearing these long coats and scarves and boots. And I have so much fun looking at people's clothes. I don't know what sparked this, but it's like walking in like a GQ magazine all the time. And
I love that. I love I have like a long wool coat that I kind of like splurge bought a couple years ago because I think people do winter incorrectly. And I think growing up where we did, and you know, it would be winter, and don't get me wrong, we all had that phase where we just wanted to wear, like, I wore nothing but leggings and North Faces for the entirety of high school. But as I got older and as I'm someone who now like really enjoys dressing up and is often not casual, like my friends make fun of me all the time for being overdressed for everything, I love wearing that coat when it gets cold enough to, and just feeling like, I don't know, fancy. Like cozy but fancy and wintry, and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something very empowering and classically chic about like a long wool coat, a cute pair of heeled boots.
Yep.
And a fun scarf or like some cute gloves or something like that.
So I would say winter fashion is definitely really fun here. And, you know, if you're in like the fashion capital of the world, of course it is. So it's fun. Speaking of that, like all of the huge designer shops are here in Paris, of course. Like you have Gucci, you have Chanel, you have Tiffany's, you have Dior, all of those. And they all have Christmas displays, at least on the outside. I didn't go in any of them, but I just walked by the display windows, and those are really cool as well. So I can't speak too much to that, but from what I've seen, it looks really good.
Magic.
I think the one main thing that I do want to bring up to conclude my general synopsis is something that Europe does really well that we mentioned just before is Christmas markets. Paris has a lot, actually, and they don't really open until December or like a week into December. But we have done one so far, but we have plans to do more. But the one we did was right outside of the Louvre, and it is so amazing. And I'm sure there's like totally different styles all across Europe.
There are.
And I can't wait to explore more. But the one by the Louvre was really, really cute because one half of it was very focused on food. And they have all of the classic items, which I'll get into soon because food is a whole section of the podcast, as always. The little booths are Christmas themed. Like they will look wooden, or they will look really charming, or have deep reds or browns or whatever. And they just look very European. And then the one outside of the Louvre is actually like half food and then half fair. Basically, it's like a Christmas fair. And they have a bunch of rides for kids and shops and all sorts of things. And we even went on this really hokey, like haunted mansion style.
That stressed me out, Jess.
It was so funny. We have this weird couple tradition now where the first time we went on a fair, we went on this hokey haunted mansion ride at the Florida State Fair. So now we're in Paris at a Christmas market, and we're like, let's go again. So it was like dead looking Santa and weird skeleton stuff. I was like, this is so weird.
The actual Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, Paris likes to kick things up a notch. That's what I like to say. They like to make things a little scary. So anyways, Christmas markets are magical and beautiful. And I really hope I get to go to one when it snows, because I feel like that would be the full experience. But they play Christmas music and they have warm, comforting foods and Santa and just all the beautiful things that symbolizes Christmas. And I wish there were more of them in the States because I'm obsessed, but it's just not the same. Like Europe just does it the way Europe does it. And if you ever have the chance to come over to Europe in December for Christmas markets, like add that to your bucket list.
Yeah,
I'm very
100%
serious.
100% of mine. And it's not just France. The first Christmas market was in Germany, actually. Mm-hmm. And I think it dates back to like the 15th century. It was called I'm going to butcher this, the Streitzel market, I believe it was called. And then they started cropping up all over Europe. But I think the most notable ones in France are actually in like the Alsace region, like Strasbourg and stuff. I think there's something like 7 or 8 different Christmas markets just in Strasbourg. And they're all like themed a little bit differently. So it's kind of like a gotta catch them all situation. They're so hallmarky and cute. And
yes,
I am obsessed with the idea of them. So in France, they're called the Marche de Noël. I guess that they were sort of originally, because obviously like there's a large Catholic population in France and in that part of Europe. I guess they were originally like for St. Nicholas Day, and then they just kind of evolved over time and started lasting longer each year. They're themed a little differently everywhere, but also if you think about like a farmer's market or something, you know, that we might have in the States, they're going to have different local artisans and crafters and you know, people making ornaments and things. So I feel like it is kind of the type of thing where you would want to see what it's like in every city. Like I love when I'm traveling somewhere and I go to a farmer's market there. It's just, even though I can't really like maybe necessarily buy anything because I don't have a kitchen to cook in or whatever, it's fun to see like the local color of the place. And I think
the ambiance.
Like, the best way to understand the community is to like actually see, you know, the people that are part of it and engage with it all the time. So it's just such a cool Christmassy thing. But I think now is when we have to talk about the food.
We have to talk about the food.
the Christmas market, Christmas foods.
Yes. And just, the coziest foods in Paris that you'll want to try, even if they're not at Christmas markets, because they're just classic to the city. But the number one thing I need to mention as far as Christmas markets go is mulled wine, which is just the best Christmas market drink there is. They make it, a lot of them make it in like these gigantic, like cauldron looking structures, but
stock pots.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere is going to make them different, but it's basically warmed up wine. Sometimes they have like hints of cherry or they have like hints of orange or whatever, but it's just divine. And you like get your little cup and you see the smoke coming off from the heat on top of the wine and you drink it and it's like a warm hug. It's so fun.
I've had mulled wine before. My family have friends of ours who are German and they would make mulled wine at like holiday gatherings and things, and they would put like cinnamon sticks in there and cloves, and it makes the kitchen smell amazing. But I always say like winter is red wine season, like summer is for rosé, but winter I want like I want a French red, I want like a burgundy or something really like intense and robust and warming from the inside out, because that's the thing that wine does. It makes you feel warm. So if you're going to be freezing outside at a Christmas market, it's kind of like having a warm drink that's also wine is kind of the best thing, because after a couple of them, you will stop feeling the chill in the air.
I can confirm, like that is the move.
Hey, survival techniques.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
So I think another main thing we need to talk about as far as Christmas markets go, but also France in general, is the many types of cheeses. So I particularly, if I've mentioned this before, you might have heard me talk about it, but I don't love like cheese that's not melted. I need to eat cheese.
Yeah, I don't understand that, to be honest.
I can't.
I just don't get it.
It's just a thing. I think it's the texture of like solid blocks of cheese that just doesn't agree with my system, but melted cheese all day. So I've always been like this.
I'm kind of the opposite.
Whatever. That's so funny. Really?
I'd rather eat like a cheese plate.
Yeah, well, you're fancy. You're like a cheese plate gal with wine, and I'm like a grilled cheese gal with wine. So,
but either way, there's wine. So
either way, there's wine, and it's probably mulled wine. So that's the moral of the story. But anyways, so there's a lot of melted cheese opportunities at Christmas markets in Paris.
Paris, melted cheese opportunity. This is a whole brand just waiting to happen.
It really is. So one of the best things at Christmas markets is cheesy potatoes. They have those and you get them in
like raclette. Do they put like the raclette cheese on them?
Well, Kristen, I don't know the names of cheeses because I don't really eat them. Mine is melted cheese. Well, you get the little boat of potatoes with cheese on it, or, potatoes tossed in cheese. It's really good. That's one. Number two, there were at the Christmas market we went to, there were these big blocks of cheese and they actually put the pasta on it and they melt the cheese while the pasta is like in the big wheel of cheese.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I see that. Yeah. Like people put that on Instagram all the time.
Exactly. I've never seen it in person because I just don't think Americans really do it that much. I bet it's in New York City. I think that's where I've seen it.
Yeah, it totally is.
Like I said, Paris, New York, very similar, but not at all. Anyways, so pasta in wheels of cheese is really fun. I didn't try that, but I definitely should have. And then the third thing, which is, I don't know if this is necessarily at Christmas markets, but they have it in restaurants everywhere because it's Paris, but fondue is huge here. There's like fondue restaurants and you get a little cauldron of cheese with a flame under it. And then French bread, which is the best bread in the whole world. My mind is blown. And you just like stick it in the cheese and eat it. And it's just amazing. So there's a lot of cheese here in France. And if you are a fan, you're going to have a great time. Another thing I have to talk about is bread, because it is Paris, it is France, and there's bread everywhere.
Gluten-free humans.
I'm sorry.
Like just skip ahead 38 minutes. We'll be done
30
talking about bread.
When you think of the stereotypical, like people walk around with baguettes, like they do that here all the time. We found a place that won the best croissants in Paris in 2018. And they have $1 baguettes. And it's just like,
are you kidding me?
No, and they're so big. They're just like amazing.
I'm moving.
I know. That's like the only thing that's cheap in Paris though. So like
whatever. That's okay. I can survive.
We can survive off bread. Oh my God. But that's amazing. So like you definitely want to get a baguette and a croissant, and you can eat the baguette plain. Like you can just rip the bread and just like eat it. Or, I mean, I'm American, so I like to put butter on it because it just makes it taste so good.
I don't think any French person would sneeze at you putting butter on anything.
Yeah, actually, they love butter here.
I was going to say, they love butter more than Americans love butter.
You're right. I think that everything, like the croissants that we get, definitely have a ton of butter in them, but that's why they taste so good. And then, of course, crepes are really big here. They have those everywhere. Like
I love a crepe.
They're so good. There are crepe stands all up and down, like any little street. Like my street that we live on probably has like 6 crepe shops at least, maybe more. A lot of the Christmas markets have crepes, and even at Disneyland Paris, like as like a snack, you like go up to a place, you're like, oh, what snacks do they have here? And it's crepes with Nutella. So
cool. I will survive.
Love that. So of course, Nutella is huge here. I think I mentioned this in the Italy episode, but Nutella is so big here. And we were onto something in 2011 because we were obsessed with Nutella. And now I'm in Europe and I'm like, all of the Nutella jars here have Christmas labels on them, which is so cute. Like they'll have little snowmen or reindeer, or they'll have Christmas sweater prints. And we don't, in the States, Nutella is Nutella. Like you can buy it at the grocery store, but it's always the basic label. And here it is a party on a jar. Like we love it. It's so cute. So that's crepes. Get a banana Nutella crepe and you'll be very happy.
What are the savory crepe, sweet crepe? What are some of the notable flavor combos?
I would say the banana Nutella is my number one. There's actually one that had banana Nutella and Grand Marnier here.
Oh, okay.
Steven got. That was really good. Other flavor combinations, you of course can just do plain sugar. I saw someone make that last night. That was really cool. But I think I would like want more substance in my crepe personally.
Yeah.
I've seen some with apple compote, but you have to be careful because on Thanksgiving, I really missed apple pie. So I was like, I'll get an apple crepe, but it was a crepe with packaged applesauce on it. So you probably don't want that.
No.
I was like, this is not worth my investment.
This is either a really weird latte or this is not apple pie.
Yeah, that was not it. Then of course there's savory crepes, which are really great for breakfast. And I think the main classic combination is like egg, cheese, and ham. That's the main thing. But of course, depending on where you go, they could have like chicken or just cheese or anything like that. Sausage, mushrooms is often in them, stuff like that. It depends on where you go. You can go to like the little tiny shops and get them really cheap and take them on the street to go, or you can go to a creperie and like sit down and have them on a plate, and they're more fancy that way. So it really just depends.
I love a food I can eat while I'm walking.
Me too. The last food I have to mention, of course, is, well, now I'm going to overthink this. Macaroons are the ones I'm talking about, right?
No, you're talking about macaron.
Okay.
You're talking about macaron.
This debate confuses me.
Macaroons are like the coconut things that usually have like chocolate melted around them. The fancy French patisserie is a macaron.
Well, that makes sense because that's a very French pronunciation. So
it is a French pastry through and through.
Through and through. So macarons are huge here. And Ladurée and Pierre Hermé are the two main places that have been recommended to me. I don't know if they're touristy. I don't know if they actually are the best in Paris, but we got them from both places. And most people claim Pierre Hermé is better than Ladurée. So I personally think they tasted very similarly. So I don't know. I'm not the biggest like macaron person, but
yeah, it's a polarizing thing actually.
They're good.
I think to me, it depends what the filling is. I will love a macaron, or I will be like, yeah, that was good.
If you're going to be in Paris, I just feel like that is a classic thing that you do need to try.
I feel like we have to talk about one more dessert.
We do.
Before we get into some more Disney nuances. And I'm making us bring this up because if you know me at all, you know my obsession with this tradition, dessert, the movie, that it's just all the things about a Yule log. Now, if you have not seen Beauty and the Beast, Enchanted Christmas, when this episode is over, please call out of work for the day and sit on your couch and watch this movie. In the movie, Belle talks about a Yule log that is an actual log for the fireplace and how you pick a special one and everyone makes a Christmas wish. And then on Christmas, you burn the log and like all of your wishes, will begin the process of coming true.
So Belle is manifesting is what we're saying.
Belle is manifesting. Yes. I mean, she's very good at that. I think we can all agree.
Oh, definitely.
But in actual French tradition, so there's kind of a thing that's predominant in Europe. I feel like that in the US, we sort of do most of our Christmas stuff on Christmas Day. But in my family and in, I guess, a lot of parts of Europe, which I didn't know this was like a thing that was abnormal growing up. We have our like big to do on Christmas Eve. That's the night we have like the big feast and we do all the like Christmas activities. And then Christmas Day is actually like kind of a chill day. So
yeah, we do that too, actually.
Yeah. And in France, again, because it is a largely like Catholic population, they'll have their Christmas festivities and then go to midnight mass. So theirs is called Réveillon de Noël, which I spent a long time making sure I could pronounce that correctly. So their feast is usually like the big one of the year where they like pull out all the stops, they go all out, they buy like oysters and escargot and foie gras and all the like super fancy indulgent foods that you wouldn't normally eat every other day of the year. And their dessert in a lot of families is the bûche de Noël or the Yule log, which is a cake that is made like in a sheet pan, very thin and flat. And then when it's warm, still you like frost it with buttercream or cream or whatever. And then you roll it up. You put like a tea towel under it and roll it up while it's still like pliable. And it forms like a log. And then you decorate it with ganache to make it look like bark. And then you put little like marzipan mushrooms or like leaves, and you can decorate it however you want to make it look like an actual log. And that's like the pièce de la résistance. I love the idea that it's like this thing and everyone like makes a wish, but I also think that there's something to be said for these traditions that are like kind of a labor of love. That's something the whole family can help out doing, and making it is time consuming, but it's also like a little bit technical but it's also creative and fun. Like kids can, put the ganache on and put the decorations. It's sort of like their version of a gingerbread house. Like it's just this fun thing that everyone can do together. And then it becomes this beautiful centerpiece and everyone can enjoy it. I just think it's the cutest thing. I want to make one. I've never actually made one. I have watched videos of them being made. I know I wanted to do it last year, but there just wasn't time. I think like Thanksgiving, you have like pie, and every holiday has like the quintessential dessert, and Christmas, like you make Christmas cookies, but there's really not any one thing that's like, this is the thing, the main event or whatever. And I
really hope your future family, you just always make a Yule log.
Oh,
kids just like think that's the Christmas dessert.
They think it's like a normal thing, and then they grow up and realize it's French and we're not. Maybe I'll marry a French person.
That works. I love that. I really think you should make that a tradition because you're so passionate about the Yule log. And I think it's such a heartwarming little backstory and tradition. And
and then when you burn the actual log on Christmas, it brings you good luck for the new year, which we're coming up on. So there's still time to make your Yule log is what I'm saying.
That's so sweet. I have to say, we did watch Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas while we were in Paris. We've watched 2 Christmas movies so far, and
so proud.
It's already a week and a half into December. So I'm a little behind because, busy, but that was one of the ones we watched. And I think that was a really good decision. It's so 90s, but in the best way.
It is, but it's perfect.
It's just so funny. And pure. So
I love it.
it's a good one. And, Belle's Christmas dress. So I'll just leave it at that. Speaking of Belle, do you guys want to talk about the Disney aspect before we wrap up today's episode? Because I think that would be really fun.
Yes.
So
please.
we want to do a little comparison game. So last time we talked about Italy in Epcot versus Italy in real life, the real country. So today in this episode, we're going to do something a little different. We want to talk about Disneyland Paris at Christmas versus Walt Disney World at Christmas. So that's a fun spin.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've talked about Disney World at Christmas kind of like extensively on this podcast at various times, but definitely last year we for sure, did an episode about Christmastime at the kind of US Disney parks. So I'm going to give a brief overview and then we can kind of do the little comparison game, but
we'll link that episode in the show notes because that was a good one.
That was where I was going with that. And then that part of the sentence just never came out of my mouth.
I got you.
Thank you. December here in Orlando is beautiful. I mean, the weather can vary. We will have days where, I think yesterday it was like 82 degrees. And then we might have days that's like 60 degrees. It can totally vary. There'll be some days that it's really cold and it will feel colder because of the humidity. So it kind of feels damp as well as cold when it's cold here. But the nice thing about this time of year is that hurricane season is over. And so it is very rare that it rains. We do have some cloudy days, but it is predominantly sunny and the sky just like gets very blue in the winter here. So, I enjoy that, but I think growing up somewhere where it was really cold at Christmas time and we had snow, it does take a little bit more effort for me to feel like it's Christmas. But Disney does a great job of not letting you forget that it's Christmas time because they deck every single corner, doorway, windowsill, lobby. Everything is covered in Christmas decorations. Every decoration is themed to like the story of that place. So you can kind of go to each park and resort and have like a totally different Christmas vibe. At Epcot, they have the Festival of the Holidays where there are entertainers and storytellers representing each country, telling you a little bit about the holiday season in that place, which is super cool and interesting because you might not ever go to those countries. Or if you do, you might not be there at the holiday time. So you kind of get a glimpse into like how their Christmas celebration or their winter solstice celebration is different or similar to yours. But in France at Epcot, we have Père Noël is the holiday storyteller, and he is the French Santa Claus. I think Walt Disney World does a really good job of representing an international audience. You definitely get a sense of a lot of the different holidays that aren't, the traditional American iteration of Christmas, which is really cool.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
So that is the Walt Disney World overview of the holiday season. So to do our little comparison, we're going to go over to Disneyland Paris. And to start off with the weather there as well, because that is like a huge factor in this Christmas comparison. Mm-hmm. So Disneyland Paris is actually freezing cold in December. So if you're ever here, please pack warm. It is that damp cold. Again, kind of like you were talking about there, but it's colder because obviously it's Paris and my toes were frozen and probably wet because it also was raining. It was very cold. So it's not the most comfortable, but it is extremely magical because that to me, minus the rain part, but like the cold to me really, really feels like Christmas. When I walked in to Disneyland Paris on my first night, I was so emotional about seeing the park at night with the Christmas decorations right when you walk in and the lights, and they just made me so overjoyed. And I actually cried. This got me. It was really, really, really beautiful. They have an overarching happy holidays, like ornament decoration over the archway into Main Street. And then once you get on Main Street, they have the different characters as little snowmen and twinkle light trees. Yes.
Cute.
Then when you go down Main Street, there's another display after the shops of more twinkle lights and more characters, Mickey and Minnie being really cute with the castle behind them, and Goofy and Pluto. And then, of course, the shops have all of the Christmas merchandise and they have all of the Christmas decorations inside. They tend to have the same merchandise in like every shop in Disneyland Paris. That being said, their pin game is freaking strong in Paris. They have great pins. I'm still obsessed with pins. I'm 28 years old. I do not care.
I don't see a problem with that.
I don't either. It's my one collectible in my life that I really care about, besides sweatshirts, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, so yeah, their pins are amazing, but then like their Christmas merchandise is also super beautiful. They have a lot of ornaments and they have a lot of really cute plushes and, classic Christmas things, but they are pretty much the same in every store you go to, which I don't know if you guys prefer variety so you can like discover new things, or if you just like the convenience of having everything everywhere in case you missed something in your time at another store. I'm kind of a mix of both, but I find that interesting about Disneyland Paris because I think at Walt Disney World, it's like you find this one particular item in this particular shop and some of it overlaps, but not as much as Paris. So I think the other main thing is the castle is always blue at night. There weren't dream lights actually at Disneyland Paris. Maybe.
Well, they're not like the dream lights, but doesn't the castle have like those lights on it? Like the frosty, they didn't do it this year?
No, they don't have it.
I've seen pictures.
So they must have done it in the past.
Little on like the turrets and everything.
Oh, you know why? I know why. They literally just redid the castle.
Oh, okay.
And it opened. I was so nervous. They took the facades down literally like days before we got there. And I was so stressed because it was Steven's first time. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be boxed up. But
if he sees a castle in a box, I swear.
He would be fine. He'd still like make the best of it. But just the other few things about Disneyland Paris I noticed about Christmas, they have Mickey's Dazzling Christmas Parade, which was really a fun parade. We saw it during the day and at nighttime. They have both versions. It's the same parade, but the nighttime floats are obviously all lit up in like neon colors and lights. And the characters they had were really fun and interesting. They had Huey, Dewey, and Louie, which I thought was really fun because I feel like they're always in the Christmas cartoons. So that was fun to see them as characters on the floats. They had, of course, like Winnie the Pooh characters. They had a whole princess section, which was really, really fun. They even infused a couple lines from Belle's Christmas song in the song. It's very small, and you have to know the song to notice it.
What is the line?
As long as there's Christmas, I truly believe.
They put that in there.
Yeah, but they like infused it into the mix of the soundtrack at the end.
So
and it
not
was
me
nice
on YouTube looking up this parade later.
And then they also have these Mickey gingerbread cookie characters that are really cute. I thought of Gingerbread Couture Taylor when I saw those. The other thing that was really interesting about that parade was they kind of like did a circle around the hub area near the castle and then the back hub area near like the town square area. I guess that's how you describe it.
Yeah.
And they would pause the floats and then they would do like a dance break. So it was like this big dance party around the circle. And it was really cute.
So fun. Like My Side meets
Christmas Parade.
Yeah, I like that.
And when they're up closer to the castle, there's some stages there. We unfortunately didn't know this, but if you're more in the center area there, you could like be closer to stages. And I think Minnie and Fab 5 characters were dancing up there. So Clarabelle Cow's in this parade, the Christmas Queen. So, and I think Clarice Chippendale's I don't know who's that girl?
Oh, Clarice.
Yeah. How is she related to them?
She's I know this.
I don't want to say their girlfriend. That sounds inappropriate.
Their mutual girlfriend. I'm looking it up. We can continue.
Well, yeah, Clarice, associated with Chippendale is there too. But Chippendale are actually tick and tack in France. So that's a fun fact. Tick and tack is...
And tack?
Yep. And then Goofy is dingo.
Okay.
Is it tick and tack or tick at tack? I don't know.
Clarice is the mutual love interest of, I thought this was true. And I was like, I don't know if this is
they're
real.
chipmunks. I guess that's fine.
Of Chip and Dale. Clarice is apparently the love interest of both Chip and Dale. She made her debut in the short Two Chips and a Miss. That's adorable. Released on March 21st, 1952.
It was the 50s. It was a different time. So
I guess.
For the chipmunks. I don't know.
I was going to say,
humans.
I think it would have been more frowned upon then than now.
Yeah. I don't know. They could get away with a lot in the media in the chipmunk world. So
in the chipmunk world.
Anyway, so to wrap up my Disneyland Paris Christmas synopsis.
I love that we're just like debating the social norms of chipmunk dating.
In the decades, you know.
You guys, we said we were going to give you a bit of everything on this podcast, and I feel we truly deliver on that promise.
Well, we are rediscovering the social norms of chipmunks right now, so I think that's still on brand. So
it still is.
To wrap up my Disneyland Paris Christmas synopsis, just to mention, you know, of course, the food. I noticed that some of the menus had like holiday theming to them, like the Plaza Gardens buffet on Main Street. So like basically Plaza in comparison at Disneyland, they had a Christmas seasonal holiday menu, which was really good. We loved that. And then they have like, of course, Christmas cookies in the confectionery. They have the Christmas themed treats that you can get. And of course, like I mentioned before, there's lots of crepes. So whether you want to consider that Christmas or French or both, you can decide. And then on your way out of Disneyland Paris, you go into what would be their downtown Disney, but it's called Disney Village. And they actually have little Christmas market style booths as well. So you can get all of your sweets there. You can get your savory items. You can get, you know, your shopping items, basically everything I mentioned before, just at Disney Village. So that's a ton of fun. And with a Disney spin, of course. Disneyland Paris is just the main Disneyland Magic Kingdom style park, and then Disney Studios, which is their smaller additional park that they have there. So we don't get to do the whole like cultural immersion like Epcot has. So Walt Disney World definitely touches on the worldwide aspect. This is more of just a Disney Christmassy experience. But I think if you ever have the chance to go to Disneyland Paris, or if you're deciding a time to go to the park, I would beyond recommend going in December. And I know it's going to be cold.
A really warm coat.
I know it's going to be cold, but it is so beyond worth it. I went like 5 years ago and I went in the spring and it was still really fun, but there was something about being there at Christmas that just absolutely up-leveled the experience and made it so magical, because it's a Disney park in a Christmas setting of cold and twinkle lights and magic. So you can't beat that. Yeah. I just had a really fun time. I love Disneyland Paris, and being there at Christmas made it all the better. So that's that.
I feel like if I go, it has to be at Christmas time now.
I highly recommend.
Well, last year, I forgot that this happened, but somebody told me this the other day. I manifested, I guess I can say this because it'll be over by the time this episode comes out. I manifested going to Disneyland at Christmas time last Christmas.
You did.
That episode. I said, I think I'm manifesting this for 2021.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
And yeah, I was like, oh, I think I'm getting good at this.
Yeah. You were always good at it. You just weren't aware. So
I just didn't know.
Now you can be deliberate with it.
I hadn't unlocked it yet. Now it's like unlocked and loaded and ready to go. So who knows where we're manifesting next?
Exactly. It's just so exciting.
I really need a European Christmas market excursion. I need like
you do.
France, Austria, Germany. I need it all.
They actually, I just learned this, but they do like Christmas market cruises where they like bring you around and like you hop
up.
Yeah.
Wait,
I just learned this was a thing. I mean, not this year because a lot of them are like Austria's closed and a few other places are closing down for COVID. So, which I haven't talked a ton about on the podcast. The COVID stuff is, I'm not going to get into it a lot. It's not impossible to navigate through, but you definitely have to be paying attention to any update. I'll
Yeah.
say that. And you definitely need to have your vaccine card. So I'll leave it
Yes.
at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for future reference, if you want to do like a lot of Christmas markets, they have like cruises. And I'm sure they probably have to have like tour companies that would take you around, or you could just make your own itinerary and take the train, which is what we would do. Because trains are freaking awesome, guys.
Yeah, America needs to.
I love public transportation. That could be a whole episode in itself. We've always loved public transportation at Walt Disney World. So why not in the real world?
I used to be like annoyed when people would rent a car on a Disney trip. I'm like, no, I am taking the monorail.
And it's convenient because you don't have to figure out where you're going. You just have to get to the right one.
Which is sometimes a struggle, but
it is. But once you're on it, it's a good time.
Like, okay, I got this.
So this episode went all over the board, but the common thread was, I loved it. The common thread was Christmas in Paris is magical. And thank you for going through that journey with us. We talked about what Paris is like. We talked about the food, and we talked about the Disneyland Paris comparison to Walt Disney World at Christmas.
Parisian.
There's the Paris pun.
I hate myself for saying that. But
I love that.
I was right there and I had to.
You had to. It was just on a silver platter along with the Yule log.
The Yule log. Yeah, if you take anything from this episode, it's take public transportation because it's good for the environment, and also make a Yule log. Thanks. Love you. Merry Christmas.
One more thing. People who live in France very much speak French. And there are a lot of people who do speak English, but it is very, I would say, important and polite to ask parlez-vous anglais before you just start assuming people speak English. But that being said, I don't really know a lot of French, but there is one phrase that is very important to know around Christmas time, and that is Merry Christmas in French. Mm-hmm. And Kristen, after spending all of your years in France, you know, I think I want to leave this pronunciation up to you.
So I do tend to pronounce it a little more than, like, I feel like French is a language that sort of is just like this undulating wave of sound that we're not used to, because Americans and just English speaking people tend to be more articulate. We also, I feel like, have way more consonants and consonant sounds. So I think the technical way of saying it is Joyeux Noël, like just as almost as if there's a W in there and you're just like really speeding through it. But I always would just say Joyeux Noël, like sort of so that people would know that I was, they heard the word Noel and they could kind of hear the word joy and they know like, oh, she's saying Merry Christmas to me. So Joyeux Noël, everyone.
Joyeux Noël.
Is that right? Our ReDIScover family to yours. That was very good.
Thank you. Yes. Joyeux Noël. It's on all the greeting cards here, which is so really cute.
I wish I could ask you to send me one, but
they're very artistic.
Yeah, it's hard. It's okay. I'll make my own.
You never know. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Joyeux Noël.
Everyone had a safe and fun and festive, magical Christmas. It's not over. You can keep celebrating.
Thank you guys for going on this Christmas adventure and traveling to Europe with us during the holiday season. Thank you for being with us all year long on ReDIScover. We've completed a full year now. Like, we've completed a full calendar year, which I think is really cool. I think that's a podcast accomplishment right there. We hope you have a very wonderful new year and wish you all the blessings and all of the best and all of the magic in 2022.
That's why this year absolutely flew, but it was a really interesting and awesome year. I learned a lot. We did a lot. We've grown a lot together. Mm-hmm. And I love that, once again, I'm like going to be a little sappy here, but I love that I can kind of always come back to ReDIScover as this like home base for all of us to feel connected, even when we are oceans apart. So no matter where you are, no matter what you're celebrating this season, thank you for celebrating life and all of the joy that the world has to offer with us. I love this, and this has been such a gift
So thank you all for celebrating and listening with us.
And a very happy new year from all of us to all of you. Bonne année.
We'll talk to you next year.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of ReDIScover.
Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you.
Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation and let us know what you think we should talk about next.
Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com.
Until next time,
stay frumpy.